In today's episode, we're smoking a chuck roast. Some folks call it the poor man's brisket, but trust me, it's got everything you'd want from a brisket. It cooks in half the time and it costs about half as much. But of course, we're not stopping there. We're taking some of that smoked chuck and we're gonna make it into a smoked queso. We're gonna melt some cheese, grill some peppers and onions. This is gonna be a great episode, so please stay tuned.
Chuck roast is a great introduction to smoking. It doesn't require that much time. It doesn't require that much effort. And of course, when you buy a brisket, you're spending about $80 to $90 versus when you buy a chuck roast, you're only paying about 30 bucks, 30 or $40. So your risk is less, and it's a great way to start learning how to smoke. But let's begin. Let me introduce you to the poor man's brisket, the chuck roast. So I bought this at Costco. I think it cost me about $43 for both of them. And so what I love about the chuck roast is look at the marbling on this. There's a lot of fat in this chuck roast. You can see all the marbling everywhere. And the great thing too is that you don't really have to trim this. This is it. It's already cut. You you're going to render most of this fat anyway. And so the way I love to make the chuck roast is, again, we're going to apply the same principles as if you're going to smoke a brisket. And so the seasoning we're going to be using today, it's Comanche Moon from Just a Tip. It's a habanero. It's a habanero garlic seasoning. And what I like to do is I take 1 cup of the Comanche Moon, 1 cup of salt, and 1 cup of pepper, and I put it all in another shaker, mix it all up, and this is what I have. I get it all together, and this is now my new rub that I will use to season a brisket or season this chuck roast. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by using a binder. So some people use mustard, some people use tallow. I'm a big fan of avocado oil, and the cool thing is that now they have it in a spray. So we just gently spray our chuck roast down with some avocado oil, and we take our rub and we generously apply this to this chuck roast. Since this is such a thick piece of meat, you shouldn't really be afraid of pretty going heavy handed on this. You want to get all corners of it. Try to evenly spread it. You don't want any caking. You don't want to really rub it onto the meat. You just kind of want to shake it all over the meat. Again, you're trying to avoid caking. So there you have it. At this point, I would set it in the oven, or you put it in your smoker at 250 degrees. Now, you're trying to achieve a 180 degree temperature. 180, at that point, you could then wrap it in butcher paper, or you could also wrap it in aluminum foil, and you put it back in the oven. At that point, you set it back at the oven and you pull it at 203 degrees. But at 203, 205, you're in the safe zone. You pull it out and you let it sit and rest for a couple hours. If it's going to be beyond a couple hours, you could also put it in the oven at the lowest setting at 150 or 160 and let it rest for several hours. So our chuck roast finally reached 203 degrees. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull it and wrap it with aluminum foil so it could rest and let all that meat and juice just settle in. And so I need to go pick that up. All right. Man, that smells good. So after 5 hours of smoking, closer to 6, you can see how nice and jiggly this is. You see how all the fat is rendered. And as you can see, all the fat, and there's a nice little bark on this too. Man, it tastes good. So now I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it. Then we're gonna let it sit for a couple hours, just so. And here's the trick: when you wrap them, this is where they get very, 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 very soft. I like using aluminum foil. Some people like to use butcher paper, whatever floats your boat. This is the way I like to do things. And if you like and prefer butcher paper, that's even better because you know what you're working with. Here's another one. Of course, I'm sure I'm going to fast forward for one of those. Well, all right. Due to the nature of the egg, it appears to me by experience that you don't have to constantly baste a brisket or anything that you're really smoking in it. Like for example, a offset smoker, that smoke coming in and kissing the meat and going out the stack. Usually, typically, it appears that it dries the meat faster, and so it's always good to moisturize the meat by adding, apple cider vinegar, water, and every several hours just spray it down. But with a green egg, I've noticed that you don't have to really do that as much because it doesn't have that same effect as an offset. So we're gonna let these sit for a couple hours. You could technically put it back in the smoker if your smoker is down to 160, 170. You could just keep them there and use that as a warming box, or you could actually use these and put them in a cooler small enough where it could retain the heat at that temperature. While our chuck roast is resting, we could start assembling our queso fundido. And so in the back right now, I have a cast iron skillet preheating in the back. And right now, I'm going to show you how I assemble the dish. And we're going to end up smoking the queso fundido in the green egg. But for right now, I'm going to take my little gimbal so I could get that little close-up shot. So right now I have this cast iron with a little bit of avocado oil. So about this time, I think it's been heating up for a while. I go ahead and throw in some diced tomatoes. I'm gonna crank up the heat here. We're gonna use some Ranger seasoning with spicy garlic pepper. And this is a great seasoning as a base. And honestly, I know some people that have used this as a base seasoning for salsas. So essentially, right now, what we're doing is we're going to be making a salsa. All right. Here's the chuck roast. I'm actually chasing a storm right now. The storm is supposed to come in within the hour. Of course, after setting all this up, it's um, The storm is coming. Welcome to Texas weather, where you could experience all four seasons in one day. All right, guys. I really want you to see this. I really want you to see this. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it in half. I, there's no effort when cutting it, but I like for you to see this. Look at all that juice just dripped down. Of course, you need to try it, right? Hold on, hold on. There you go. Where's the camera? There you go. This is amazing. It's not because I made it. It's just a great piece of meat. It's often overlooked for some reason. Also, this is not unique to Texas. Um, Meat used to be whatever meat cuts that weren't sold during the week, they would cook it or smoke it for Sunday after church. And that was pretty common for most meat markets. Sunday was a big day for barbecuing after church. So brisket, ribs, no. There was different cuts like beef clod, which is shoulder, and roasts of every sort. Whatever they could not sell during the week, they smoked on Sunday. So that included chuck roast. So as we are slicing and dicing here, I also, just as a tip, don't ever cut the meat until you're actually going to eat it. If you cut the meat and leave it sliced, it starts oxidizing and it starts turning color. You want to cut it right before you eat it and never pre-slice it. But you could do what you want. It's just a tip. Um, just a tip. All right, I'm gonna leave it chunky. I mean, you could pull it apart. I mean, just so you see, it's not. I really don't need this knife. Anyway, let me show you the smoke ring. You could actually see the smoke ring on this. Right around this corner. Look at that bark. My gosh. All right. I'm gonna leave that just for show here, like that. There you go. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to set the platter here. All right. So as you can see, I preheated this, and there's not that much liquid left on the tomatoes. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add some of this chuck roast. Then we are going to add, let's see, try to get as close as possible to this camera there. About a pound of shredded Oaxaca cheese. If you can't find Oaxaca cheese, the next best thing is mozzarella. Don't get fresh mozzarella. That has a high water content. Um, get a mozzarella that has a low moisture content if possible. But if you could get, actually, you know what? I'm not going to need two of these. I think about a pound of cheese did it. We had also roasted some onions, and now we have also roasted jalapenos. It's almost like making a pizza here. This is more like a deep dish, right? All right, so then we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it back in the smoker for about 20 minutes or so. Let all the cheese melt and bubble. So to correct myself from earlier, it's not queso fundido is literal translation is melted cheese. Uh, I said scorched cheese or something like that earlier, but and since we are, might as well take up all the juices that we can here. So let's throw this back in the smoker and see what we do. Our queso fundido should be pretty much done. So the next question is, how do you eat it? How do you serve it? So here we have a dish with avocado, sliced avocado, and then of course you have some chips. And another way they serve it is with flour tortillas, and these flour tortillas are hatch pepper flour tortillas. So I want to bring this thing out and we will assemble it. Forget assembling it, we're going to eat it. Here we are. And there you have it. Look at this. The great thing about this, again, being in a cast iron, you could just literally set it in front of the table while all your friends are watching the game and they could just serve themselves like this. I'm going to take a flour tortilla, but not just any flour tortilla. Hatch pepper flour tortilla. We're going to add some avocado. Then we're going to grab some brisket. Sorry, chuck roast. Look at this. It's almost like the Heinz ketchup commercial. All right. Cheers. It's hot. It's hot. Not spicy, but I just melted the top of my roof of my mouth. So another thing, don't do what I just did because I just burned the top of my mouth. But this is amazing. This literally, I've noticed I said the word literally a lot. I'm sorry. This solves the the problem that we have with nachos, right? If it's within 30 seconds, you're good. But realistically, If it's more than several people at your party, it's not going to take 30 seconds for them to start sitting down and eating. You get one chip and you get 10 of them all solidified with cheese. So this is hot. It's still hot. You could plop it somewhere and you could just reheat it if you need to, or you could put it in the oven in the warmer. This is a great alternative to game day nachos. This is queso fundido. This is inspired by multiple states in Mexico. Chorizo is the preferred choice of meat, but since we're in Texas, why not just smoke some, not brisket, god darn it, chuck roast. See, chuck roast.
One taste will tell you nothing else compares. Just the tip, just the tip, just the tip. Where the flavor's sharp and the pride don't slip. Texas made, clean and true. We don't cut corners, that just won't do. So